Maybe we can start off with that. Like, what are our opinions on Mindanao now?
Oh,
Yeah. Given that you've been visiting quite a bit, Raf, it would be nice to like bounce some ideas off what
yeah,
you've
that's true.
experienced.
It'd be nice. Kasi, well, I definitely love the place. Um, I do see its potential for it. There's so many kind people in that area, but it's also misunderstood. Like, and that's just scratching the surface of what
For
misunderstood means, right? I don't know. Go ahead.
How so? Like misunderstood in what sense? I've been to Mindanao, but I mean, I feel I haven't been there long enough to understand like the culture.
Well, I think like 4 years ago, I celebrated my birthday in Davao because I had enough friends to like kind of throw a party.
Nice.
And it's nice. They like brought me in. So they're all from there. They showed me around because I'm there I stay there like 4 or 5 days at a time. And I don't know, one of the things that is very interesting is that I think the Visayans and the Mindanaoans look at Manila as Imperial Manila all the time. And I don't blame them. The rules are different in Mindanao. The weather's different in Mindanao. Even stuff like climate resiliency rules and like your funding, it doesn't have to be the same in everything. Not everyone has to prepare for a storm in this country.
Yeah.
In the same way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like if your funds are stuck somewhere and you see people hungry, you're like, what? Like you're not smart up there. You should do it. Yeah. At the same time, like it's just the culture's so rich, and so the tribes there also have different. Like there's a different balance of power.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Most definitely.
No.
Kasi, but there's the structural powers, of course, through government, and there are the ones who really drive society, I would say, and like influence people more.
That's true.
Whether they're IPs or people who have just been there long before assemblymen became congressmen.
True. And it's weird though, because you have like, you're the cultural datu, and sometimes there's a separate mayor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in some places it's like the sultan and a government official. Like, who do you follow?
Exactly. It's like Marco Polo in the dark with a blindfold.
That's why it's so magulo siguro there, no?
I think so. It's part of it, but I think part of definitely Manila has, the management in Manila has a lot of shortcomings also. Like, it's the first time development money is really going down there, right? And like, they're very happy for it. You definitely want to balance out the development there and here, just because like we're already oversaturated here in the city.
Definitely.
So,
agreed.
I remember we went to like Bukidnon a couple of years ago to film a documentary, and then we went to the Perain farm.
Yeah.
So
then they kind of like talked about the tribes that they're helping out, that they have like livelihood programs with. Is it the same thing in like Davao, or like what's happening with other places you visit in Mindanao?
Well, I got the chance to go around Zamboanga. I would visit the Perains every year in Bukidnon because they were like Tito John and Tito Rene were the ones teaching reforestation, and they would coach me through how to, especially Tito John, how to like build rapport with the communities and just to be patient in these things, right? In Davao, sometimes I feel like it's similar to Quezon City but much bigger.
Yeah, much bigger. It's the biggest city in the Philippines.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's huge. Oh my goodness.
Like, they have like a long bridge that kind of goes around the side of the city, and then you can get from one place to another.
Yeah, but the food's so cheap.
Bulcachon.
Yeah.
Because I only went to Davao City, then to Mati's straight.
Like, Mati's beautiful too.
Yeah, Mati's beautiful, but never got to spend time in the city though.
I see. The people are nice. I think what I'm missing a lot is like there's so many honest people in Davao. People on the street, the cab drivers. It's just, they're so nice.
You feel safe. Yeah, you feel safe for sure.
It's so safe. It feels so safe. Mindanao's like a food basket, right? So all this climate change, the water patterns, if they lose one rainy season, they really feel it. and it's so different. Like farmers could plant 3 times a year and harvest 3 times a year on zero irrigation, just because it rained regularly. But as the logging continued, then now it's just twice a year that you can plant. So imagine you just lose to 1/3 of your sales automatically.
Definitely. Yeah.
I actually remember like when we drove from Mati to Lanuza, grab the like I remember seeing a lot of mountains na were totally just kalbo. Like
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Check out the rivers, man. You'll see all the logs there.
I guess there's like local politics, family feud in some of the towns. There's also geopolitics involved, right? I mean, we were purchased as a colony for a reason, and one of those reasons was lumber.
it's like there are a lot of factors in play that seems really complicated. That
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
have
also
doesn't have a simple solution.
man.
I wish it did, but we're barely even scratching the surface.
You know, I've been spending like a lot of time in this lockdown trying to think, because it hit 2 of my main businesses really hard, Circle, Hostel, and Mad Travel. So down to zero because there's no travel, right? And so I started to ask like, what do I want to do? Because I was very travel driven before, but like it's shifted very much into like, I really want to help change this country, right? And I've had the privilege to like get to meet great minds like the Perines, or like work with some of the founders of Gawad Kalinga and with some other development orgs. And somehow they all seem to agree, without speaking to each other, that there is a lack of people with integrity who are willing to like step up and like take the reins, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to find honest people, but it's hard to find honest people who are willing to like take that responsibility.
I feel like the integrity part. It's so. I've been reading a lot of like these. There are these like Instagram pages now. One, it's called Dating Pilipinas, and it's sort of like like basically like this. They create posts based on like tribes and like what happened during the Spanish occupation, the American occupation. You know, like Philippine history, but in bite-sized like form. And they were talking a lot about the, you know, like how the Philippines was shaped, and I mean the way the hierarchy with the Spanish, and then nagulo pa with the Japanese and the Americans, and then what I found pa, apparently in Mindanao, like they were conquered by like even like, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the Germans, the French, the British. And
the British conquered the Philippines for like a week or something, but
yeah.
I don't think Mindanao was ever conquered.
No, that's the thing. Mindanao was never conquered.
Yeah, I don't think Mindanao was
but they were never conquered though. So parang it's just kind of interesting. I mean, now I'm only thinking of this now.
Surigao and Cebu, man.
Like sure, like Mindanao is basically like just like, no, we're not gonna take it in the ass, but like Luzon is like, we're just gonna take it all the time. Like, give me more. Right? Man. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
I think it was just really also super underdeveloped in Mindanao, even for those days when the Americans were here and when the Japanese, because even the Japanese couldn't do it. They tried.
What makes them, but I didn't see, because there wasn't a lot of detail about why they were never conquered. I mean, were they that sophisticated in terms of like the military or like warfare?
They just knew the land, guerrilla warfare.
Knew the land.
They knew the land. They knew the mountains. They knew where to pass to get from point A to point B faster than military knew.
And they were, I guess that's sophisticated, right? Was that was that like strategic? I mean,
I can honestly say it was partially strategic, especially during World War II, because my mom's grandfather is really from the Zamboanga region, diba? So during the war, though, they would really be guided by people through the mountains, through the forest, to get from different places whenever there would be attacks by the Japanese. Zamboanga del Norte is on the tip, right? Northwesternmost tip. So it's easy to get there from Negros. You can even get there from Cebu or Bohol. And during the war, the Japs were pretty much all over Visayas and Luzon already.
Yeah, and how about you, Raf, with Mad Travel? You're working with with the Aitas, right? The IP. What other tribes ba?
We had the chance to work with some Dumagat communities because they're the ones easily accessible from Luzon. But we've always had that dream of like working with people farther down south or further up north. But I guess traveling to them is not it's not easy because it's logistically challenging, right? The stories are there. I remember with Mad Travel and Circle, like we did the Tribes and Treks Reforestation program and tour. When we kicked it off, I went to the Perrine. I went to Tito John, and I was like, what you guys are doing is amazing. You're reforesting this area. You're building it with coffee. Found a way to give meaningful livelihood while restoring the environment to a way that is beneficial for all. Can you teach me? Right? And he said, I can teach you, but you can't do it on your own. You have to bring your team and the Aitas here. Right? And so it's like, okay. So when I went back to Manila and then drove straight to Zambales, I started talking to the Aitas about it. And they obliged. So we flew 3 chieftains and 1 pastor down to Bukidnon. And we were there for like 5 days. We hung out with the Talaandig, with the Wawai, Sawai of, and like coincidentally to John showed us around, showed how their methodology for reforestation. And I remember when one of the Aita chieftains, Erise, he saw Wawai for the first time, right? And they looked at each other, and then Wawai's like, "Kilala kita! Why are you here?" No? Interesting, no? And then he's like, "Ay, ikaw yung ano." They started talking, right? And it was, it's like long lost brethren. They have a similar storyline. They're not respected. Their rights aren't respected. Their culture is, we don't understand it because we don't know it, right? I mean, the most I think we've seen in an Ateneo Araling Panglipunan book is like 2 paragraphs about Aitas in a picture, black and white.
Yep.
Right?
And it was more of just memorize this part. Memorize this part, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's tribal culture. I'm like, no, it's not. Fuck,
No.
that's like...
No, it's really frustrating, man. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I was telling Snap that I have a friend. She's from the Kalinga tribe naman, but she's based in Manila already. And parang like she'd always make me kwento about like the inner circle in the parang Kalingas, and now there's still tribal warfare, and the government kind of just leaves them to settle their differences. And it's just, I mean, it's super cool because like I don't know of a lot of countries in the world that have this kind of like subculture that's basically our origin culture. And I think
true.
And I feel like parang if we adapted most of their practices, I think it would be a lot more holistic and probably a lot happier too. So I don't know, man. Like that's why parang it's so frustrating. That's why I really want to learn more about the tribes. I don't know much about them, but at the same time, like I'm a big fan of Native American, like reading about Native American history, and it seems like there are a lot of intersections talaga with like the tribes here in the Philippines.
I agree. Like you guys should. I mean, we should hang out with some of the Aita friends I have in Subic. That's the easiest one.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
Gladly. Like they're cool. We even brought, Gallery by Chele.
Yeah.
So Chef Chele came over and he was like, they were cooking together and stuff.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Nice.
And then he got some ingredients from them after. So, their foods. They're an interesting bunch. I remember with one of the elders in Subic, I told her kasi like, ate, I'm here to help, right? And she said, if kung nandito ka lang para tumulong at wala kang kapalit, di ako maniniwala sa'yo. And I was like, really? And sabi niya, kasi it's not sustainable, right? If I get something from it, dapat ikaw din, di ba? And I was
Value
like,
exchange.
This lady like understands like partnership and sustainability much better.
Wow.
Right? And it's nice because she didn't have that beggar's mindset, right? You know how in the Philippines, right, we're taught to work hard, study hard, get a good job, or like just create wealth for yourself, right? And then duty as a citizen, give to charity or whatever. That's the storyline, right? But that storyline reinforces people at the bottom to beg.
Yeah.
And that will never get us out of it, right? And
Yeah.
and that's kind of like what we're fighting for with Mad Travel. Like that's why we want you to. It's nice that that people get to meet the different communities, but not as a object of charity, but you as their visitor or guest of honor, and as their equal. Very very different dynamic because they have so much to teach. I remember the first time we were supposed to do a tour we did a tour in Zambales, and we pulled it off successfully. We're supposed to pay the chieftain, as the RSE, a couple of, I think 4,000 pesos for the community, no? Because we brought 20 people, they ate, we rented a Carabao and a couple of guides, and he refused the cash outright. And I was like, Chief, bakit? Because in my head, it's like, he's poor. He has no electricity. Why is he refusing the money, which is supposed to be at the basis of our partnership? Because I want to empower him. And he's like, kasi, sabi niya, tignan mo tong lupaing ninuno namin, 3,000 hektarya na nakatiwangwang. Kung bigyan mo ako ng pera, baka magastos ko lang sa load, sa kape, na 3-in-1, o sa sigarilyo. Hindi naman yan mapapakinabangan ng matagal. So I was like, sige Chief, so what do you want? And then he's like, kung babalik ka, magdala ka na lang ng buto o binhi. Kasi yung binhi, kahit nakawin, itatanim pa rin yan at makikinabang yung mga anak ko at yung ako ko. And I was like, wow, this guy is like Filipino Yoda.
Yeah.
Or something.
Woke as fuck.
Incredible.
Woke as fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and that's kind of been the basis for like the ethos. Like we're like, it's from charity to sustainability, or like money's not the only value we trade in society. Like there's skills barter. You were talking about it in one of your
empowerment.
Stuff, right?
Yeah. To what you're saying, we actually talked to some of the IPs now. We haven't spoken to any of the chieftains. I've spoken to one pastor. Okay naman so far, but like you said, they're not looking for something quick. They're not looking for a quick buck. They're looking for something that could either provide value for them over the long term or something that they believe they would have a stake in moving forward.
It's definitely better. I got the chance to go to New Zealand, and the Maori there, man, like the way they did their tour was exactly like the chieftains here would do their herbal medicine tour. Like they define every part of the tree and every living thing they see, except one is in English, the other is in Filipino, right? But the Maori, because they had the benefit of being able to like attend school, he was like mixing it with blockchain and like
That's amazing.
The best of science and the best of culture combined. Because I really feel like the best of culture and the best value system is like with these elders, like the guys in Kalinga. I was able to visit there 2 or 3 times. Amazing culture. It's a sad reality that it's eroding because the children are looking towards Manila, right?
Yeah, and becoming engineers and lawyers. That's what one of the guys was saying. Parang our kids don't want to farm as much as before because, there's value in both, I would say, but definitely the value on the indigenous practices is super below what it should be.
That's true.
We definitely have a lot to learn from the elders. There's no question about that.
And diba, parang I remember seeing like some posts online about like these like they're like this is council of the grandmothers, and it's part of like the Native American tribes in I think North America, and basically I mean it's what we know naman eh. Like parang they're talking about how nature is already like basically unleashing its wrath because we're not taking care of the place. And I feel like parang the values of like the IPs go against the main driver of economies, diba? Of government, of personal wealth. I mean, like it's kind of strange that we went to Ateneo wherein the freaking mantra is man for others, but it's always man first, us first, then others when there's enough money or when you're retired. Parang I don't know, man. It's frustrating.
Oh, definitely. But I guess we have that opportunity to change the narrative from man for others as charity to man for others as sustainable partnership or something.
Totally.
We've kind of pivoted in Mad Travel to Mad Courses, which is basically online learning for for students, right? Universities. And what we plan to do once we're able to travel a little bit more is that we'd like the elders to be the teachers.
Wow.
Right? And that would be
Sounds
interesting.
amazing, yeah.
We had the opportunity to do it just once before in British School, Manila. One of the teachers, there's a friend, and he asked me can you bring the chieftain over to give a speech? So I was like, sure. So we found a way to get one chieftain down. He came to British School, Manila, and he told his story. I was a translator. And then the teacher asked the kids to try to solve the problems of the chieftain. Which was, we don't have, like, we're poor, we have got a lot of land. It was nice because the kids came up with the idea of seeds, which is exactly what the chieftain asked for, right? And then their field trip was to go to Zambales and visit him after.
That's
so cool.
After.
That's so cool.
Right? I really think that, it would be a treat, right? If rather than reading it in a book, somebody actually came over.
Yeah.
There's so much in terms of like how they have to be treated. And I saw that with, let's say, I saw that in some of my mentors, like in GK or with in Nilaban, like they would treat people in the community with utmost respect, like absolutely equal. Sometimes I feel like even higher, no? There's a strong lesson of humility there that us in the city, we kind of have to be reminded of it sometimes. It's the gateway to us learning about the past and the reality on the ground now. I don't know, it's not perfect. But it's like that to Mindanao.
I agree with you completely. Like Nikki's heard me say that so many times. We have to understand the past to know what's happening in the present so we can plan for the future. Like, I'm a firm believer in that. I call it the information gap. Parang there's such a gap from when we were purchased in the Treaty of Paris.
Paris.
And like, ang daming kulang. Ang daming kulang talaga. You have to read it on your own, diba? Like you have, or experience it on your own. If you try to learn it in school, it just won't happen. You won't get all the deets.
That's true.
It's kind of ironic, Ren, like parang, I guess it's only based on my, literally social media feeds. And I see a lot of my friends from the States were Phil-Am. And grabe their passion for like, parang Filipino pride, like they're the ones like really creating like movements and gatherings to like have a bit of more understanding of the Philippine culture, and parang they embrace I don't know if it's politically correct, but the brownness, the way we are, and just
be proud of it.
Be proud of it, diba? Parang,
brown is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Pero tangina, what do you see in the billboards? Mga bello whitening, mga like it's really
it's post-colonial mentality. That's a stage we're in now. That's what to Raf's point. We have to figure out how to kind of transition from that into something a little bit more us.
So what can we do? Like, I guess, like, Raf, what are your ideas, like, moving forward? Like, in our lifetime, what do you think will we be able to see?
Well, what's clear now versus, let's say, 10 years ago is that there's a movement of change makers that are trying to make their way into the economic and political scene that have a different understanding of things, right? You've got politicians who have more integrity, but there are ways to go from running for president anytime soon. And you've also got like brands that don't use white models, like Human Nature does, and they're pretty proud about it, and they're big enough that they're already on the competitor screen of like some of the larger skincare companies, and they're dead serious about really giving Filipinos something pretty good. It has to start with us, right? It starts with our pocket, how we spend,
exactly.
How we choose our career. Even for us, like we've got a project now called Mad Market, and it's my first time to like try to go straight into agriculture. Like head on, it's not agritourism, it's straight up fruits and vegetables, right?
Nice.
We do door-to-door deliveries within Metro Manila. I'm focused mostly on Quezon City. We try to leverage the relationship we have with different farmers. And what I see is that if we started treating farmers like business partners and we would plan with them, like instead of going to them and say, hey, do you have tomatoes? It's like, hey, what are you planting next year? Give me your annual plan. I bet they have it because they follow the seasons.
Crop pattern. Oh.
They have a crop pattern already. If they've been a farmer for 20 years, of course they have it. So you just have to write it down, and then you program your marketing around that. 30% of our money goes out of the country just for food, right? And in a time like this, where like all our OFWs are being sent back, our tourism's zero, then it's more important. It's so important that how we spend, we make it go round and round in this country as much as we can, right? Even in Ateneo, when we graduated, JG Som did a survey of like the top 5 brands that people wanted to work for. And back then, the brands were Procter & Gamble, HSBC, Citibank, Unilever, L'Oreal. Right? It's all foreign stuff. In 2012, 4 years later, what came out was Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, HSBC, rags to riches. And somehow some social enterprise got on the list, right? I forgot number 5 was, but like it's changing. So there's a big. We have to spread the word better, which means people have to be better at marketing these things, right? And so we can learn from the Philam diaspora in that way.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, man. I mean, I'm glad to know. I guess it's really just the exposure of it, and especially with media now, kasi parang bad news is like it's just the main driver for eyeballs, diba? But if we can actually create more, I guess, content and just avenues to be able to promote the good stuff. Who is it I was talking to about? Like, I remember somebody telling me na parang bad news moves really quickly and dissipates really quickly. But good news, progress is super slow. Like,
really,
it's kind of hard to pinpoint. Parang you're like, but the thing is, what we're doing, like what media does, they leverage the news that's fear-based, that's like, that kind of like attacks like the nervous system of people. And
sound bites.
Diba? Parang kasi, like, I mean,
what it is.
People,
impressions and sound bites.
Yeah, and like the good news, it's just so, I think I honestly just saw one Instagram page that like is dedicated to like good news. Like
that's awesome.
That would be nice.
But I mean, we need that talaga because even for me, okay, fine. There is the whole journalism aspect of being able to uphold the truth. But parang can't we balance that out with some like hopeful stuff? Like instead of just
good truth,
feeding the monster and like
truth. I like that.
Good truth, man. Term. We need more good truth talaga.
Yeah,
like, I think that's. I mean, like honestly, this conversation is like, I don't know. Like I don't even want to talk about the pandemic because this is hopeful.
Yeah, I really like just talking about this stuff.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about the pandemic because it's just like,
thank God.
Forget it. No, let's just talk about this hopeful stuff today.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys actually did this because it's nice. Like you're the first voices in our batch. Yeah, you are. That
I don't know if we're the most.
But
thank you, man. We appreciate that. We're trying. We're trying to make up for our sins.
Yeah, most definitely.
I watched the first 2 episodes.
At least namin, diba? We didn't pretend to be people that we weren't.
Yeah, we had to.
Oh man. Yeah,
you gotta lay the cards out first.
That's true. No, it's good. It was like being vulnerable. So it's very real in that sense and authentic.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. But how about you guys? Like, what do you guys see as like opportunities for like addressing, like, for how we change our narrative and I guess the reality after?
I guess with me, I mean, I'm coming from like, my backgrounds are film, video production, and I've only been in the wellness space for just about 2 years. So I'm pretty new with it. I'm getting to know the intricacies and the communities of the wellness industry. And what I love about both is that the communities are solid. Like everyone likes to help each other. Like even I feel like, especially my generation of directors, producers, everyone in that field, I guess they want to help out. They're always down for a conversation. They share their contacts. And the same way with the even more, I mean, I guess it's different naman with the yoga community and the healing community, but parang everyone, especially now, everyone's collaborating and there's no parang, I like how it's not motivated by money. Parang it's motivated by advocacy. Like parang some of them want to help like their certain NGOs or they want to like promote, International Yoga Day. And then with production naman, which is cool, like creating these crowdfunding platforms to be able to help like the gaffers, the lightsmen, because it's not the same as before. Even though now it's opened up, there's still not as much work as before. So I think, for me, like I have ideas that have been in the back burner for a long time. Like I really wanted this. I still want to create like a, maybe now it doesn't have to be online, but like sort of like a, create like a basic film school for underprivileged children and especially tribes people, because I feel like I would want to give them the basic skills and sort of mentor them to be able to tell their stories. Because I feel like all I know, all I see are from our circles. Parang even if we're from different schools, parang it's still the same story. But what if you get the stories from them, from people who have a very, very unique perspective? And parang to empower them, not to tell a sad story, maybe tell a sad story, but empower them to tell that sad story, to be able to let people understand that. And I think with the wellness naman, I feel like, yoga's an ancient practice. And I feel like I would love to be able to learn more from like indigenous tribes that we can share it talaga. Parang, kasi for me, parang I think that with the thing with the yoga, I feel like there's something about, because teaching is very new to me now, but I enjoy it more and more because I see that parang to be able to connect to somebody is just, it's just an experience talaga. And it's like a source of fulfillment, a source of like happiness and purpose. And I would want that to be like, how do you say this? Like shared, and to give opportunities to those who don't have a voice, who are like in the fringes of society, and when they should be in the forefront of society, just what we've been talking about. So me, I'm like just letting things like brew, but I think the fact that we're having this conversation now, I think there's going to be a lot of synergy like moving forward. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Try to marry both like multimedia platforms, social media, the wellness industry, and also art, like filmmaking, and not to just commodify them into like an ads and stuff. I don't know, for me, tama na yan. Let's just try to make more meaningful, high impact content. But that's me.
Nice.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah,
I just thought about that. I just thought about that now, man.
Yeah.
Top of my head. Top of my head.
Yeah.
Wala. But now, noted. It's there. We've talked about. It's recorded. So there's.
Yeah.
How about you, Snap?
Yeah. Go Snap.
Well, right now, since I work in renewable energy, I think one of the avenues that there can be an impact for IPs especially is ER1-94. So basically, anyone who puts up a power plant in the Philippines has to give a contribution for every kilowatt or for every watt hour generated. There's a contribution that goes to the LGU, and as of last year, around January, I think, or February, they included IPs into that. So that's institutional. So that you can't log that as CSR. It's not like that. It's you have to do it.
That's interesting. How do the IPs access it? Do they need like a proposal?
So what the power company has to put up an account. It's like a trust account. So before, the way they used to do it with LGUs is that you remit to DOE and DOE releases to the LGU. But the new rules say that the power company creates trust accounts with the IPs and with the LGU. But the release of the money is still subject to having a proper plan. So
I see.
If, for example, you continue the work you're doing and you're able to help them come up with a structured plan, and let's say 1 or 2 years down the line, a wind farm or a solar farm comes up, they would have the program in place that just has to be submitted and approved for the funding to be channeled to them directly.
Oh my God, that's that.
So cool.
Thank you for sharing that. That's useful because we do have a plan. Like the work I have with the Aitas in Zambales, it's signed by the NCIP. It's signed
Perfect.
by the
NCIP is the people you gotta be dealing with. We deal with them now.
Yeah, the lawyer is very nice to us, and he's telling the Aitas like, you'd be crazy not to take this deal because they're not asking for anything from your land.
Yeah, exactly. And parang I think the best way to do it would be not a purchase of land, but just a lease. So they have recurring income from the lease, and then they would get again programmed work to be done. Because the problem is, you can give them a lease, but like the chief said, you give me money, baka magastos ko lang yan sa kung ano-ano, which is likely what would happen. But if they have to follow a program, which is milestone based, and the release of the funds is based on hitting those milestones, then all of a sudden it becomes a partnership, right? Rather than just true. Charity.
That's true. You know, we when we went into lockdown, we launched this fundraiser to not really fundraiser. It's like plant a tree today, feed the farmer for tomorrow. Just because we didn't want it to be a straight out charity, so we're like, just hire them for planting trees. Right? Just don't give the money, right? And so there's sweat equity involved. So now there's like 8,000 seedlings sitting around in the village in Zambales, which is nice, right? There's some value there, and we did do that program. We release it a bit at a time.
Galing. That's the way to do it, man. You're doing good work. I'd love to go with you one time. I go like every other week, honestly.
Oh, let's go.
Can I go?
Let's go. Bring your video, man.
You get your authority to travel, Nicky.
Video.
You get your authority to travel. That's
I will find authority to travel. Jeez.
But all you need is medical clearance from your barangay, and then you go to your city PNP office, and then you submit with a letter requesting for permission from the PNP chief to leave. And more often than not, if it's for work, they don't even bat an eyelash. Like, they'll process it for 1 or 2 days, then you're good to go.
Oh, there we go. It's work.
But is it a one-time thing, or you need to always?
No, every time you go, you have to do that. Damn. It's really meant so that people are restricted from moving. Because it's COVID, remember?
Oh, is it?
As we all want to
talk. We went on about that.
Not talk about that. No. I refuse to talk about this.
I was trying to trigger Nick.
So I'm gonna make kwento now because of you, Snap. This is you.
Oh my God!
Your fucking conscience voice was on my head. I was supposed to go to La Union tomorrow. Like, my friend had a pass, and then I agreed yesterday, but for some reason, Snap's voice appeared in my head and say, "Don't do it, something might come up." So I'm like, okay, I bailed. But for this, I think naman it's for a worthy cause. Diba?
Yeah, I think so. Especially if we're gonna like really go up to the IPs. That's hindi mo basta-basta magagawa yun.
I think pwede. You know, Nikki, I was gonna say earlier because I was asking about the story, because when you look at the country, like when people graduate from college, the story we know this. We're all driven by the story of our culture, right?
Yep.
And the story of at least where we grew up is like there's a path, right?
Yeah, there's a path.
And right now, I mean, ever since I started pushing more for social entrepreneurship. Like, I'm very determined to like show people that there is a different path to your fortune, and whether that fortune it's a combination of like your fulfillment, your financial needs, having fun, right? Because like I remember tour guiding one time at Enchanted Farm, and it was bankers on the VP of BDO, and they were so happy, like, "Oh, Iho, it's so great you're devoting your life to like countryside development and trying to help these villages." One lady asked, "Pero Iho, if you mind me asking, how much do you earn?" Kasi she understood that her son or her daughter might be attracted to the career, but you're a parent, you want what's best for your child, right? And so kind of have to lay out that groundwork so that you can have a sustainable life and do something that the world needs also, right? And I keep saying this in some of the programs where I get to speak, like capitalism as a concept is missing. I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's missing a it's not measuring everything properly, right? It's forgotten the environmental inputs, which your career now kind of like takes into account, right?
Yeah, it's a stuff. I mean, when I first started in ARIA, I was working Monday to Saturdays.
Ah,
But
jeez.
then, yeah, Chinese eh. So I was with them for a while. And company though, sila yung rural electrification, off-grid solar. They installed more than 3,000 off-grid solar home systems in the rural parts of the Philippines.
I see. Wow.
And then I moved to Ayala to try utility scaling, and I learned a lot. It's still a bit challenging, but it's good work, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Mindanao was an eye opener, man. When I had to experience half-day brownouts, and almost
It's like 1991.
Pare, and that was already 2010 till 2016. I was appalled. Like I was like, oh my god! And it wasn't even because there was a shortage of supply, right? If you look at the papers on a daily basis, Mindanao has a net surplus of electricity. It's just that the lines can't handle more load.
I see.
And
damn. So it's these stories that have to come out, and I guess that I was thinking, Nikki, that's really like that's the like low hanging fruit right in front of you, because you're such a good storyteller in that sense. That
thanks, man.
like we don't get enough of these things out. Like I see a lot of like chefs doing like stuff with their food, but like the story of the people behind it. Like I've always wanted to like kind of a film or a book or a podcast about like it's just chieftains and millennials. That's it. That's the premise.
That would be cool.
Make that
happen, would be cool.
Make that happen. I will support you on that. That's a really great idea. It's a really great idea.
And and it would be nice if they could. I'll share with you one story. Si Ate Erlinda in Bataan. So she's our main contact there. She was saying that when she was growing up, she's half Aita, half I think Tagalog or Ilocano, but she's got all the curly hair, all the features are with her. She's a bit taller than most of the other women. And when she was young, she went to public school in Bataan. And there's one day she went to school and people were making fun of her curly hair. So that's kind of, you can imagine, that's kind of bad already in a grade school setting. You're like 10 years old, right? But it got worse because apparently her teacher, when she was starting to sing the national anthem, her teacher cupped her mouth and said, "You can't sing. You're an Aita." I was like, holy cow! Oh,
that's ridiculous.
Crazy.
That's fucked up.
That is so stupid.
Right? So she racism is real for her, and it's in our own country. Right? And I hear sometimes from some of the guys, parang, like, sir, pag nasa jeep and you pass money, it's like, the driver will ask, oh, ilang tao? So the answer is, 5 tao, 2 Aita. It's like, why is there a diff? Right?
Tao pa din yun.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's crazy, man.
So there really is that, and it's our relationships with them that are the best way to break that stereotype. Because that stereotype was driven either by media or by the fear or misunderstanding. Right? But Nikki, like, you have a friend from Kalinga. That relationship makes it real, and that's
it does, man. And I think it's so important because we need that perspective. Kasi parang, especially like, I guess, where in the world we live in here in Manila, parang we're just, Snap knows this. Like, I always tell him, like, a lot of the conversations we have with families and friends from Ateneo or whatever are like about business, about money, about basketball.
One big fight.
I'm not shitting on them, but like, for me,
oh man, we all live that life.
Can we talk about something else, man? Can we talk about something else?
No, I understand.
But I guess to Raf's point, that's why again, using film as a medium that can show people how the Aitas live and how some of the things that they know could help us live more sustainable lives, or at the very least more in touch with the true reality, right? Like,
for me, kasi I don't think we'll have a problem getting stories. I guess my concern coming from, I guess, the production advertising industry is, kasi parang for me, sayang if people can't see them. Like, if you create this amazing film or this amazing series and you don't have a platform that can get people to watch them and provoke them, parang what's the point?
That's
So I
where
feel
Mad
we can
Travel would
invite-
come in. Yeah, that's where Mad Travel would
So
come in.
I feel like you
kinda-
need to strategize. It's all about strategizing
True.
talaga. Diba? I mean,
Who's
that's
a-
the...
Interesting host we can get.
Derek Ramsey?
We can
Snap's
ask
friend.
him.
Snap's
We can
friend.
ask him.
I mean, that's for like sure eyeballs.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Grabe. Dinudumog talaga siya ng tao.
Diba?
Really, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to be
He's a
careful
nice
then.
guy.
We don't want
Yeah.
them na dumugin eh.
Yeah. Well, I guess if we're going to an IP community, it would be a little bit. It won't be as congested, right?
Oh no, it won't definitely.
Yeah.
We'll go to a
Even
forest.
the towns in Zambales, hindi siya dense. Maganda yung pagkagawa ng mga sentro. Like the
Yeah.
it's called either poblacion or barangay centro, di ba? Madalas ganun.
Yeah.
They're not like all stuck together yet. So hopefully it doesn't happen where they're all stuck together with like buildings.
But
And Snap, you live in the life. Boy,
yeah.
out.
Yeah, man. You're like
Jealous.
the blessed one.
No, let's all work together. We can all start doing stuff together. That's what we're trying to do, honestly. I mean, it doesn't work with just one or two handfuls of people. It has to be groups and groups of people all kind of working together somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
None of us have figured it out. Like, I won't
that's
pretend
true.
like we've figured it out.
We
But
don't talaga. Exactly.
one step at a time, and like we just have to keep reinforcing positive action.
Exactly.
You were gonna say something, Nikki?
No, yeah. I mean, like, I guess, like, Raf, I'm curious about, like, because clearly you've found purpose, you found passion, like, and it's. I know it's a lot of work, but like, what else? How do you keep things like balanced? You know, like with like in terms of like work life balance, I guess, or has it blurred na talaga? Like, it is life, hand in
Well,
hand.
it's annoying. It came in phases. Like we used to go surfing, right?
Yeah.
Before, and it came through that first phase of like just fall in love with the countryside and the life there. And then I got challenged because somebody said, your business is nothing because it doesn't help anyone else. I was like, what? I got so challenged. And then I saw other people our age or younger or even foreigners showing that they were trying to do something for this country. Like I got a tour in Bulacan, and it was one of my friends, Fabian Corte, who's French, and he gave a goddamn good tour of Bulacan. And I was like, this is embarrassing.
He's a French guy.
He can barely speak Tagalog, and his English is 50-50, but not really good. But like, why? It shouldn't be this way, right? We have missed out on really connecting with people. Maybe because there's so many stereotypes here, right? Parang, oh, they're poor or they're not as educated, but they're also very rich in lessons and values. It definitely blurred because after that, I went almost like full volunteer for like a year, 2 years in an enchanted farm in Bulacan. After like going through Circle in Zambales and La Union. And then my city life just evaporated. Like no more Ateneo games. I used to be perfect on like UAAP games. That was me.
All of us. We all used to watch those
You
games.
all were, man.
And then after that, no more. I'm at the beach, and then later on, 2 years later, I'm at the farm, or I'm in someone's. I'm in the mountain, and yeah, it's like I feel lucky. Like I've kind of found that purpose and drive earlier because I talked to some of the older guys who are ahead of us, and like they're already in their 60s, 70s, and like you can feel that. I mean, I wish that they were younger. To do so much.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a hard balance, to be honest. The city never seems quite the same again until this lockdown, and I kind of realized how nice the city can be. It's
It can be, yeah.
really nice.
Really nice. It resembles like a province, which it kind of is. It's just that the noise kind of like blurs everything, diba?
And I guess just to the drive, like there's so much injustice in our country, right? And I'm super proud to be Filipino. Maybe because I've been exposed to more tribal communities, and then not just tribes like the Ilocanos, the Kapampangans. Like I try to pick the minds of elders all the time when I get to see them and ask, "What is this? How do you speak? Like, what are the words? What's the context? What's your food?" Right? And there's so much to be proud of. I wish people could see that more often, because if you're very proud of it, you'll really fight for it. And it's not going to happen unless we do it ourselves. Like we can't wait for the government or anyone else. Like we have it, the opportunity, your skills.
But hey, man, this is the start of something good, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's a reason we're having this conversation. It's just to
start the travel pass.
start this thing. Start traveling again and doing good, diba?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And like again, trying to help reinforce these communities and try to get some lessons from them, because like Raf said, they have so much to teach. Let's fill that gap. Let's fill those.
I like that. Fill the gap.
Yo, Raf, thanks so much, man. That was I'm so glad we didn't talk about the pandemic. We talked about.
You keep bringing it up, dude. You keep bringing it up. We'll eventually go back to that.
No, but this is it, man. But like, dude, really, this was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Refreshing. Thank you. Refreshing.